A 13-year-old boy has sued his UK parents for forcibly sending him to Africa and enrolling him in a boarding school. A boy whose identity is protected contacted the British consulate and child welfare organizations after his parents took him from the UK to Africa and registered him to an African school before they returned to be in a United Kingdom without him. The boy's legal team argued that his parents physically and emotionally abandoned him over fears of his potential involvement in gangs in London, an accusation the teenager vehemently denied. At a hearing that began on Tuesday, November 26, the boy's lawyers requested that a judge order his return to the UK, where he has lived since birth. However, the boy's father's lawyers argued that sending him to Africa was a legitimate exercise of parental responsibility. The boy was described in court as polite and articulate, with a passion for football and cooking. From the father's perspective, there had been a clear deterioration in the boy's behavior, leaning towards criminal activities, which was why he was sent to Africa. The hearing before Mr. Justice Hayden is set to continue at a later date.
So this family sends their son back to school in Ghana, to a boarding school in Ghana, because he was misbehaving in the UK. He was joining bad company. He was even allegedly found to be trying to get into bad company, as bad as being in the gang. I've seen clients over the years of practice, and this raises the topic of the trauma that comes with doing that, and I'll go into that a little bit, but also with the fact that this happened in a two-parent household. So there's a lot of conversations around, single mothers, single women, single households tend to raise children, especially male, African American, and majority of them might end up in trouble or even end up incarcerated, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of homes with two parents and children still being raised, or male young men being raised and get into a lot of trouble. So important, raising children, whether it's a single family home, families can look different. It can even be an adopted child. It could be a foster child. It could be a stepchild. It can be biological. It can be a caregiver, you're an aunt, a grandparent caring for a child. But it's so important to parent from a hard place. Having that ongoing conversation with a child, with the children. Parenting takes a lot of mental labor, and being ready emotionally, psychologically, financially, physically is sacrificial to some degree. And whether two parents are together or not, and sometimes two parents might be together, but the house is all kinds of chaotic, it does affect children. And children are not being heard or seen as object in the home. It impacts their behaviors, not just within the home, but also outside the home. Children are just like us, versions of that. And this is why we do the work of reparenting ourselves. In one video, I said you need to put a picture of yourself when you are 5, 6, or 7 years old in front of you, so you can talk to your child version, the things that you lack, the things that you couldn't get, especially emotionally, physically, psychologically, from your parents. It's not about quantity, it's about quality of time. So really reserving that time to do the teaching, the skill building, the emotional connection, the forgiving, the repairing, the modeling. Our children model a lot. The environment is so important. If I put myself right now into a different space, after quite a while, I still sometimes switch back and forth. I will bring out my Ghanaian accent, but a lot of times because of my work and because of how many years I've been here, I might have a different type of way that I speak, not truly like a Caucasian or Black American, but a lot of people will sense that I have an accent. I'm from a different country, but it's different from what I was maybe 20 years ago when I was purely in my country. So environment plays a whole lot. You model the people you're around. There's certain languages that I had grown up on, and because I don't have people around me that I talk to in that language, I lose it. I used to speak French. I speak it a little bit, but I lose it because I don't have people here in the US to speak French with. So the same thing, your environment plays a big role in how you turn out. The influences, the people in your ear, the people most in your ear. So sending your child to Ghana to go to boarding school, maybe back in the days could be helpful, but if that child still falls into company that is not positive, it's not gonna do it. And if you're not gonna have a consistent caregiver there in Ghana, or you're not gonna be there with that child and that child feel abandoned, that is the brewing space for trauma. You know how traumatic it is to leave your child and also lied to him about him going to visit or whatever, and then he's left there. A lot of parents do this. There are many times I travel to Ghana on the airplane and I'll see children by themselves. Yeah, maybe accompanied by the air hostess or by somebody. They have a son. Do you know how traumatic it is for those children? Yeah, children are very impressionable and resilient, but without good nourishing support emotionally, psychologically, it can really turn a child into a snake. Children are like snakes, and if you don't tame them, if you don't guide them, if you don't mold them and guide them and support them and find the village that will continue to support them, and you're doing all those things, it's just gonna pile up that childhood, that crappy trauma on top of more and more and more, if you know what I mean. So let me know your thoughts and opinions on this topic of sending children to boarding school. I know a lot of rich people in the UK, even influential, like the people, well, I want to leave it to that. They send their children to boarding schools or to military school as a corrective measure, but it's not punitive. You can do it in a stepwise fashion where the child can see the reasoning, the explanation, the talking behind it, but not just blindside and dump them like, oh, it just feels like you're just dumping them over there and running away because you're running away from your own responsibility as a parent because that child is too much. Is that not, good fit as a parent? Because sometimes that's a thing too. Temperament-wise, you might not be a good fit together as children. So bring in support, bring in a therapist, bring in a coach. You gotta do the works so you can raise good humans, not just dump them. From my perspective as a provider,
a 14-year-old Ghanaian boy sued his parents for taking him out of London and shipping him back to Ghana to join a boarding school there. He sued his parents and he lost the case because the judge admitted that his parents' fear of him joining a gang in London was valid, especially because in school they had actually said that he had some criminal tendencies. A 14-year-old boy suing his parents. You see, this is one of the downsides of raising children in the West, because who born you well in Nigeria? Who born you well? 14 years old, suing your parents. Are you mad? Even the way my dad at 22, I was still physically panicky in the same room with my dad. And I'm not saying to say that it's a good thing, but I had that fear. Imagine taking my dad to the court. Am I mad? As I'm coming back home, in fact, God, Jesus. But I'm very happy that he lost, because of course you cannot be your child in England. You cannot touch their body small. As we are landing, if I'm his parents, as we are landing Accra International Airport, the slaps that I'll give him first, slap him, then by the time we reach home, Shebi's Ghana pepper. Ghanaians have that very hot pepper. Keep that one side. Keep my kubuku one side. Keep my hanger one side. Keep my leather belt one side. What else? Keep my fan belt one side. I will beat that demonic spirit out of him. That demonic spirit. I will beat him. I'll flog it out of him when I'm done with him. I'll teach him that we are not friends. And I think that's one of the things our new age parents should stop doing. Your children are not your friends. I do not believe, yes, you should be friendly with them. Yes, you should have time with them, but do not make them believe that you don't have authority over them. I grew up believing that after God was my father, as it is. In fact, my dad used to tell me, I am the God that you see. I am the God that you see. That's how children should think of their parents that way. Not, it's unthinkable to want to take my father to court. Am I mad? Especially over something so frivolous. They sent you back to Ghana. He even said in his statement, I'm from London, England, and I miss home. No, you are Ghanaian. You were born and bred in England, but you are Ghanaian by heritage. We need to teach our children African values. Your parents are not your friends. Your children are not your best friends. They are not. And you must make them understand that you have authority, total authority over them, until they become of age and get out of your house and can live by themselves. But if they live under your roof, you have the final say as regarding anything that pertains to their life.
Hi there. So the 14-year-old who took his parents to court because they moved him from London to Ghana to a boarding school has lost his case. And the judge in his ruling said he was satisfied that the parents' wish for their son to move to Ghana was driven by their deep, obvious, and unconditional love. The boy was at risk of suffering greater harm returning to the UK, the judge said. He said the boy's parents believe, and in my judgment with reason, that their son has at least peripheral involvement with gang culture and has exhibited an unhealthy interest in knives. The boy's father told the judge the couple did not want their son to be yet another black teenager stabbed to death in the streets of London. Bravo. I'm glad the court saw it fit to trust in the judgment of the parents in raising their child. This has been a problem, a perennial issue. And I did a video when initially this story broke a while back, and it got loads of comments. And I thought it was just proper to do a follow-up video. Bravo. And I think it's great for parents to be able to take charge in raising their kids.
This 14-year-old British loses court case against parents after they tricked him into traveling from London to Ghana for boarding school. This is not nice. UK parents, you guys are fond of doing this. Anyway, according to the parents of this 14-year-old boy, they told judges that their child has joined bad gangs and so, and that is why they tricked him into traveling from London to boarding school. This boy sued their parents, saying that they deceived him and they lied to him. That they told him that he's actually traveling for vacation to Ghana and all of that, and he got himself at Ghana boarding school, so thereby is by disease, and his mental health is not okay in Ghana because he was born British, and he has never lived in Africa before. He said a whole lot of things and all of that. Guys, what did you guys think? Just assume, like, can UK parents, does it mean that UK parents can't control their children or that control their kids? Like, you can call your kids, sit him down and talk to him. Look at this, these are the plan. There can be a mutual agreement that deceiving your child. Just imagine the trauma this child will be going through from UK to Africa. Whatever. Guys, what do you guys think? Comment your opinion respectfully.
A 14-year-old boy who tried to sue his own parents for sending him from London to Ghana to go to boarding school has lost his case. The High Court in London heard how his parents were worried that he was being groomed by gangs in London and feared for his safety, and moved him not as a punishment but to protect him. But the boy said his parents tricked him, saying that the visit was to see a sick relative. He told the court he's living in hell, that he's never been part of a gang and he wants to go back to his old school. But the judge said he was satisfied that the parents moved their child abroad out of love, and that the teenager was at risk of suffering greater harm coming back to the UK.
A 13-year-old boy was taken by his Ghanaian parents from London to Ghana, to Accra, to a boarding school because they feared for his life in London. Now, the 13-year-old boy, wrote a very strongly worded letter to the UK embassy in Ghana, and lawyers from London flew to Ghana, and they argued that the boy was, as he claims, was being mistreated by the teachers in the school in Ghana, and the case was taken to the High Court in London. Now, the judge in London has found that actually life for the boy is far much safer in a boarding school in Ghana than in the streets of London. His father argued that the chances of his 13-year-old boy dying in London as a victim of a stabbing was way, way higher, and that his life was basically spared by being sent to Ghana. Let that sink in. That black boys are safer in Africa than they are in the UK.
I don't know why everyone's acting brand new. So the story is, 14-year-old boy gets shipped back to Ghana by his parents because they had fears he was going to join gangs or be involved in that kind of activity. The boy went to the authorities and a court has said that, yeah, he can stay his ass in Ghana. This is not newsworthy. When I was growing up, kids got shipped back to their home countries or their families' home countries all the time for misbehaving. If the girls were acting a little bit loosey-goosey, they was getting shipped back. If they was drinking and doing a madness, they was getting shipped back. If the boys was involved in violence or drugs, they was getting shipped back. That's what happened when I was growing up back in the day. The only difference is this generation of kids are bright because they are going to the authorities. They're not having it. But the authorities have said, your parents sent you back to Ghana, stay in Ghana.
This generation is different. I read an article today about a boy who is taking his parents to court for sending him back to Africa without his consent. It seems like this was the last resort. His parents found pictures on his phone where he's holding knives, his friends are holding knives. The school suspect that he's being groomed. He's coming in wearing expensive clothes, holding items that a boy his age, he's only 13, just simply shouldn't have. His parents tried a myriad of things. They tried tracking his location. They tried being aggressive towards him verbally. They tried beating him. They tried all of these things and none of those things worked. So they said, you are going home. Why am I speaking about this? As a teenager, my friends would disappear. 1 minute they were in school, the next minute they were gone. As a teacher, years later, I'm seeing the same thing. Students you see on Monday, you don't see on Tuesday. I'm going to go ahead and say that actually this method does not work anymore. The kids are coming back worse. And yes, they are coming back. Before, you would send them off for years. Now within the year, they are back in the same school. Why is this happening? Because the kids are protesting and the parents are giving in. I think we need to open the conversation. To parents, I want to implore you, please stop sending your children back to places they've never been to, or maybe they've been to once or twice in their life. This is not going to be the solution that you think it will be. As a community, as schools, what more can we do to support such families who feel they have nothing else they can do except send their children back home?
Send your kid to Nigeria. Is your kid getting way too big for his boots? It's never too big for the boot, you know, but no, you get in trouble doing that in England. So do you know what you do? You tell them they go on holiday to Nigeria, or you tell them it's a vacation, family vacation. And you know what? Mom's going to take care of everyone's passports. When they get there, take the passport away and let them move into their new school, a boarding school, where they will speak Yoruba, Igbo, or we can go to Ghana, Tree. Every morning, they'll have to prostrate, and they will learn to give things with their right hand. That's what these parents did to their son who was involved in gang culture. Trainers, they never bought him. Carrying weapons. He had mobile phones, they never bought him. And then he took his parents to court to say, I want to come back. Do you know what the judge says? You're staying there, bro. Your parents have the right to protect your life. They're your parents. So send your kids to Nigeria or Ghana if they're misbehaving.
Yo, what are you saying, people? So, I wanted to talk about this particular topic here that is on the shade bar, and I'm just regarding this 14-year-old boy who the judge had allowed the parents for him to stay in Ghana. I think from my perspective, speaking as a social worker, I actually had a similar case in my first local authority. So I remember what actually happened is, I got a referral and the concerns were literally exactly the same. But funny enough, it was a self-referral from a elderly grandmother. So the young boy at the time, he was actually 14, living with his grandma. He wasn't living with his mum because mum was struggling to manage his behaviour. So this was maternal grandma. So grandma basically was saying, I'm really struggling with my grandson. He's not going to school. I've got concerns that people outside of the home are making him do things that he doesn't want to do. He's going missing. There's a lot of concern with his behaviour. So when the case got allocated to me, I completed a child and family assessment, and the case went to a child and need plan. I got on really, really well with the young person and grandma, and I think having that kind of cultural kind of identity, you know, my name, Nana, grandma knows, oh, he's Ghanaian, young Ghanaian, black social worker. So I had a good relationship with grandma and a good relationship with the son, but the concerns were still ongoing. And I remember I spoke to mum as well, and then mum was kind of saying to me, Nana, listen, you know, this is the reason why he's with my mum. Do you know what I mean? Because the concerns are just, they're rapid. He's not changing. So I remember mum and grandma called me, and then they both said to me, what are options available? Is it possible if we can take him to Ghana? In fact, it was grandma's idea. And because grandma's the main carer. And I said to grandma, you know what? That's actually not a bad idea, because grandma felt that actually going to Ghana will not only be a culture shock, but it will also get him away from what's happening here in London. So remember, I took it to my manager, and my manager said to me, you know what, Nana, I actually agree, and I think it's good you spoke to him. I agree with this plan, you know, for him to go to Ghana. So what is it you need? So I remember grandma was just saying to me, look, going to Ghana, you know, there's some local schools, and because obviously I've been to Ghana many times, like, you know, grandma was going to take him to Accra's capital, where they were going to be East Legon. I got family in East Legon. So when my manager spoke to me about Ghana, I was able to say, yeah, I know East Legon very, very well. I've been there. I know the local schools, you know. So in terms of checks and stuff, it wasn't really a problem. So I remember what happened is it was during the summer holidays that he went to Ghana. So I held the case on a child and need plan for, how long was it? About 4 or 5 months or so. And then he went to Ghana. And mum went to Ghana with grandma. They all went and he went. And then mum came back, but grandma stayed out there to make sure he's enrolled in a school. And then when he realized and clocked, he was so angry. He was so angry. You know, even his friends started calling our MASH team to go and say, oh, he's been kidnapped. And he was like calling me bear. He was calling me a lot. Nana, how can you not do this to me? This and this. And I honestly said to him, you know what, to do, me, your mum and your grandma, we do think this is best for you. You know what I mean? Because of what's going on here in London. Do you know what I mean? And in the beginning, like, he did enroll to a school. He was angry, very, very angry. But I kept the case open for a bit longer because I could have closed it, but I kept it open. I FaceTimed him, I wanted to check up on him and everything. And as the months progressed, he actually started to settle. And then I remember when I closed the case, I called him again, and he said to me, you know what, Nana, I think it was the best decision that my grandma made with my mum for me to come to Ghana. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say is that I think, one, I know some people might go and say that, you know, parents who do this, they're abandoning their children. I don't think it's about abandoning their children, because in this particular article here, you need to hear what the parents said. They don't want another black child stabbed in London. That for me, if anything, supersedes it. It's the parents' concern is that if their child stayed here, he'll be killed. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think it's about abandoning. I just think it's about parents want to see if there's other avenues available to them. And I think as practitioners, as social workers, I think we need to also have discussion with parents, because I think a lot of these cases that I've worked with young people, even if like cases whereby young people, they end up going to care because of these issues, it doesn't fix it. It doesn't. Yes, I agree. Early intervention is what we need to be doing 100% before we even get to that point. But I think we need to be having different conversation with parents, you know, in terms of what options are there available to them. If there's family overseas, or if you've got provision overseas, like what other plans do they have? We need to have those conversations. But I think the parents' decision that they made, I agree with it. I think it's the right decision. I think that the judge as well very much understood the parents'